Hey, I'm Kev Mr. Kerr, and welcome to Power Oversteer, the world most shiny ElusiveKev channel. And in today's show, we are previewing the Spanish Grand Prix. We're previewing the fifth round of the 2013 FI Formula One Championship of the World. And going into the Spanish Grand Prix, after the first four fire races, Sebastian Vettel and Red Bull leading both championships again, but behind them Kimi Raikkonen and Lotus, they're very close behind in second, with Ferrari and Alonso of course keeping a watch in brief, and Mercedes and Hamilton and Rosberg also looking very good as well. McLaren are not quite there at the moment, even if their drivers are really fighting hard out on the track. Force India though, they look like they're going to challenge McLaren for fifth at the moment, but of course it could change because big updates are coming this weekend for this race. It's the start of the season, they always say, because now the teams, after basically having their cars that they kind of tested with, launched with, now they can upgrade them, make them good. Maybe not Red Bull, their car's already kind of good, and Lotus as well. And talking of Lotus, the big news this week has been that James Allison is leaving as technical director, being replaced by Mr. Chester. He's been at the team since the early thousands, previously of Arrows, and so it looks like very strong hands, a bit like McLaren have done when Paddy Lowe's left. They gave the position to a very, guy who's been there a long time, very senior member of the team. But James Allison, where is he going to go? Well, the crystal ball says it looks like it could be Ferrari. Very strong candidates. Pat Fry going to be a Fry deputy team principal, sachet development manager kind of person. And he could fit in as a technical director, or it could maybe even be McLaren or Mercedes, because Mercedes, of course, they do need another technical director to maybe be in the canteen to help make the lunches. And so yeah, that is going to be the big talking point, the big question mark this weekend, is where James Allison is heading. But on the track though, there's even bigger question marks about these upgrades and what's going to happen. So the predictions are going to be very interesting, but of course we always do track facts first. And so track facts, let's look at the Circuit de Catalunya in Spain, in Barcelona, built in 1991 and hosted its first Spanish Grand Prix that year, the famous Spanish Grand Prix which saw Ayrton Senna and Nigel Mansell go down the straight with sparks off their, everything. It seemed at 180 miles per hour. It was great to see, and it's one of those iconic pictures from Formula One history. But the Circuit de Catalunya, it's kind of an aero circuit, they say. They do some testing around there in the pre-season test, and so it's a circuit that the teams are very familiar with. It's got 16 turns, it's 4.6 kilometers long, I think it says, or 2.8 miles long. I think you can do the conversion from that. And the lap record is a 121.670 from Kimi Raikkonen in his Ferrari in 2008. But the 16 turns, turns 1 and 2, kind of high gear, kind of mid gear corners in third and even fourth, and then you got the long right hander into the busy part of the lap, the mid sections, with these long radius corners and going up the hill towards Kamsa, and the fast right hander going onto the back straight. Then you've got a nice tight left hand hairpin, and then going back up the hill and then down the hill into the kind of newest part of the course with that tight chicane that ends the lap before you go down round the right hander onto the front straight again. And it's got some long straights, as I said, a good variety of corners, but the races haven't generally been that great round there. But we do know it has been a stronghold for Ferrari. They've won the most races in the Spanish Grand Prix. This is even before Catalonia hosted it, with Jerez hosting it from 86 to 90 in the Circuit de Montchac. I always say that wrong, but I think I got it wrong, so correct me that I am wrong. Who hosted it, this brilliant street circuit that hosted it until 75, when unfortunately had that terrible accident with Rolf Stonen. His heel, MC Hill, went into the crowd and went to an area where spectators shouldn't have stood, but they did, and unfortunately they died, and Stormen had a terrible accident. And that was the race start where Jochen Mass got his only win in F1. That race where they're given half points, and that was the race where the only woman driver has scored points in F1 with Leia Lombardi in a private march, if I remember correctly. So yeah, that's a bit of history on the Spanish Grand Prix. Also been at Hirama, the circuit of Hirama, with the famous win from Gilles Villeneuve in 81. But in recent years, let's go back to modern F1, should we? Because it is a modern race this weekend. So in recent years, last year we saw the shock win for Pastor Maldonado in the Williams, the first Williams win since Brazil Grand Prix 2004 with young Pablo Montoya. And it was Maldonado's only podium that year, even though he probably should have got more in. He won from Fernando Alonso, holding him off. Great race at the front, great win for him at the front, and the fastest that was actually done by Roman Grosjean in his Renault. Of course, Maldonado also got pole that last year, even though Lewis Hamilton did have the fastest that, but his car was underweight, and well, his car wasn't underweight, the fuel sample was not as good, but not as much as allowed, and so yeah, they kind of underfueled the car, McLaren, and they knew that, and they still sent him out. So let's look at previous years, when there's then before that. We've had Red Bull in 2011, 2010 with Sebastian Vettel in 11 and Mark Webber in 2010. Jenson Button won in the Brawn in 2009 when Rubens Barrichello was unhappy that his team didn't. He changed strategy. The team did. I think they made him a 3-stopper and Button was stuck on the 2-stopper. And in the end, Button won. And Barrichello was unhappy. He was all blah blah blah. No, that was later in the year, wasn't it? Kimi Räikkönen won in the Ferrari in 2008. Felipe Massa in the Ferrari in 2007. Fernando Alonso's only home race win in the Renault in 2006 at the Circuit de Catalunya. Of course, he won in Valencia last year, and Kimi Räikkönen won in McLaren in 2005, and he kind of heads the modern drivers with 2 Spanish Grand Prix wins. And we also have Red Bull, who've won it twice round here, of course, and Ferrari have won all the Spanish Grand Prix. They've got 11th, ahead of McLaren and Williams with 8, and Mercedes have also 2 wins from the 30s pre-war Grand Prix racing. And so yeah, that is some track facts. And that new chicane at the end of the aperture said designed by Herman Tilke, of course, because it is a chicane, and it was built to increase overtaking and it helped safety for that last turn after they had a few accidents previously, such as famous with the Minardis when their rear wings kind of fell off at the nearest sight of wind, with Alex Young going wide at that corner, I remember, in 2002, and you had other accidents such as Andrea Maldini in 1994 in the Simtech, and so yeah, not the safest corner for F1, but it is for MotoGP, riders encased in monocoques. So yeah, that is some track facts about Catalonia. Let's do some predictions now. So some predictions for the Spanish Grand Prix. Again, I'm going to get the hat and put the names in the hat. I do get a feeling I think Lotus will do very well here, especially with Raikkonen. I just think the car kind of suits it a bit. I think Ferrari will do well with Alonso, of course, in front of his home crowd. You see all those Oviedo flags in the crowd, in the grandstands, and he's going to, of course, have hundreds, thousands of fans trying to cheer him on to a victory, just like last year. Red Bull, you're gonna have to give it to them as well to be right up there. They always perform quite well around this track, and they always have good updates, good development of their cars during the years, and you rarely see them mess up an upgrade, it seems. So yeah, maybe not for Red Bull to be up there as well. And I think I'll sneak my head out and go for Raikkonen for the win. I'm going to be a bit surprised. And then have Alonso and Webber, I'll say, in third, because it seems like Webber he does quite well around here. So no, I think that'll be my top three. Of course, McLaren will be hoping their updates. They kind of keep saying these updates are going to improve our car. We're going to be race winning. I'm not quite sure about that. I think they could sneak a top 5 maybe with Button if their drivers stop fighting on the track and actually play to the strengths of their strategies instead of costing themselves time. But yeah, I think McLaren, again, solid points for them. But as I said, we don't really know what's going to happen with all these upgrades, even though generally the order doesn't really change too much. But you always have to account for, maybe in the midfield there are going to be, some leapfroggers forward and some leapfroggers back, such as maybe Williams, and they do have a very difficult car they had in the first 4 races. But last year, of course, Bournemouth Maldonado got pole with Maldonado, and so Maldonado, I think he likes this circuit, and so I do expect them to go forward a bit and maybe be challenging for points this race. Williams, I expect Toro Rosso to drop back a bit like they normally do in the development race, and normally during this part of the season after the first flyer races, where they look kind of strong and then they drop back a bit, especially in the middle part of the season, and then they pick up again towards the end of the year, and I don't see that pattern kind of changing for Toro Rosso, unfortunately. Sauber is going to be perhaps the one to look out for, though, and they have a very difficult car. It seems they're struggling with it. It seems, especially Hulkenberg as well. He doesn't look like he's very suited to that car. He looks like he's really fighting it at every turn at the moment. But they were normally okay in development as well, and they did very well last year, of course. And so I expect them to be challenging points, especially with Hulkenberg. Maybe with Gutierrez at a circuit he really knows, in the Catalonia circuit, always, done very well here in GP3 and GP2 in the past. So yeah, expect to see Gutierrez be a bit more improved and maybe not have that reserve spot in Q1. Maybe you can fight out of Q1 finally. But saying that, everyone knows this circuit, so it's widely used in junior Formula, it's widely used in F1 as a testing venue. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see if there is any actually big changes this race, this Grand Prix. I don't really expect too many. Maybe in the midfield, if teams who are really struggling with the cars like Williams and Sauber do bring updates that kind of help sort out those problems. So yeah, that is my prediction for the Spanish Grand Prix. So I've got Raikkonen, Alonso and Webber. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. And also in qualifying, I'll go for a Red Bull pole. I'll go for Vettel on pole, ahead of Webber. There you go, Red Bull front row lockout. So yeah, that is my preview of the Spanish Grand Prix. Of course, as I said, let me know in the comments below about your reviews and such, and I'll be back with the review after this weekend. And unfortunately, you might not see many videos again later this week, as there's kind of some birthdays coming up, especially mine. So yeah, I'm going to be gone missing, I think, for a couple of days, and so yeah, hopefully I'll be back next week, not in a ditch somewhere. Hopefully. So yeah, so now for watching. So till next time, cheerio. Yeah, so there's no pre-roll, but there's going to be post-rolls because the GP3 season starts in Catalonia, Spain. That's traditional starting spot. It's going to have 8 rounds. This year it's going to have new cars, new drivers, new teams, new everything. It's going to be shinier, it's going to be better, it's going to be faster, stronger, lighter. I'm not quoting Daft Punk songs, but yeah, it's going to be a very interesting year this season. And firstly, let's talk about the calendar, because a bit of changes there and a bit of first as well. So it starts in Barcelona, as I said, and then it stays in Spain for its own standalone race for the first time in the series at the permanent circuit in Valencia, where you see MotoGP, and World Touring Car Championship, they go there. And so yeah, the first standalone event for them, so they're going to be staying in Spain, and they're going to follow the F1 circuits around the European races that they normally do, such as in Silverstone, Spa and Nürburgring and Monza. And then after Monza in 7th round, we're going to have about a couple of months wait until the 8th round in the Las Marina in Abu Dhabi. That's going to be the last round for the first time, and I think the first time the series actually gone out of Europe. And so, yeah, it's something that GP2 did a couple of seasons back. I think it was 2010, if I remember correctly, when Maldonado won the championship from Perez. And so, yeah, it's a bit strange how you're going to have this long wait from the penultimate round to the last round. But, you know, let's see how it works out for them. And as I said, there's a new car this season. New, faster, lighter car, a couple of kilos lighter, and 400 brake horsepower, up 280 brake horsepower, up from 280 brake horsepower. So up 120 brake horsepower from last year's engines, which sounded like detuned lawnmowers. And so hopefully the sound is much better. I think I've watched some testing videos. It seems like it sounds much better, and it's going to be seconds per lap faster. And the organizers kind of wanted this, because if you see GP2, you see a couple of guys who start from GP3. They kind of have to take a couple of seasons in that GP2 just to get used to the car. And so hopefully with the faster car, it can be more in line with the GP2 car, make the step up a bit easier, and a bit easier to, you know, get used to the GP2 cars. They won't take as long, and, you know, much better in line with GP2 and also F1 with a much faster car, much lighter car, much, you know, car that is seconds per lap faster than the previous one and is much more powerful as well. So yeah, that's why the cars are going to be much faster than it previously was even. And the field, the grid, it's very interesting. Got some returnees, we've got some guys stepping out from F3. So guys have been around the block, but they're going to still be fighting in GP3 to move up. And so in the number one car for Art Grand Prix, who have been renamed from Lotus GP, thank God, is Connor Daly, the American. He's going to be in the Indy 500 with AJ Foyt in May. So he's been very busy this season, even though he's not that, you know, that old. He's been testing in Formula Renault, I think, 3.5. He's been testing GP3, GP2, IndyCar, and of course he's going to drive an IndyCar. He's driven in GP2 with Hilmer Motorsports in Malaysia. Scored some great points in the sprint race after just being told to race on the Monday previously to the races, to the weekend. So yeah, not much preparation, but he's much more prepared for this GP3 season. He won a race last year, of course, for Art, and I expect him to be one of those title favourites this year. He's also got Jack Harvey alongside the reigning British F3 champion. Unfortunately, that title's not going to hold much water this year in the British F3 champion, but last year, no, much more competitive in British F3. And Jack Harvey, very good guy, been following for a few years in Formula BMW when he was fighting with Carlos Sainz Jr. and of course fought with him last year in British F3, so it's a natural step up to GP3. I expect him to struggle a bit in his first year though, a bit like, say, Lewis Williamson had last year, horrible year last year, Lewis Williamson, when he stepped up to Formula Renault 3.5. So yeah, I expect there to be a year of learning for Jack Harvey. And for Carlos Sainz Jr. in the MW Arden car, Mark Webber Arden car, and that's perhaps the strongest lineup there at Arden, with Robert Fiskew, I said that wrong, didn't I? And Danny Kev, I'm just saying everything wrong, aren't I? But yeah, but he's been in Formula Renault 2.0, if I remember, Danny. And he's been on the Red Bull Young Drivers program, and he's very quick. He looks like one of the real deals. And Carlos Sainz Jr., of course, we know he's been in F3, he's been in Formula BMW, as I said. He's always been very quick as well. And Fiskew, he's looked very good in junior Formula as well. So very strong lineup there at Arden. That car there, we got Nick Yoli coming across from Formula Renault 3.5, where he won races last year. Very interesting move. Looks like he, you know, doesn't have quite the budget to step up to GP2, so he's gone back to GP3, and he should perhaps be, you know, quite strong in this series. Be right up there with Lewis da Silva, and Eric Liechtenstein. I said that wrong, didn't I? But yeah, Nick Alfieri out of the card in the Jenser Motorsport. I give up on saying things. But I have Alex Fontana, the former F2 driver, and he drove there last season for the team in GP3. Not sure about him. I think he might be top 10. Not expected to be challenger. And I expect more from Patrick Neuhauser, his teammate. He looked very strong in the wet at times, especially last year. Didn't quite put out results sometimes, and I expect him to be very strong this year in the top 5. Then we go on to the Marussia Manor Racing team, and Tilo Elinas. Expect him to be a title challenger as well. A decent rookie season last year in GP3, but I expect him to be much better this year. But you're right, up there, and he's got British teammates with Dino Zampinelli from F2 as well. So yeah, look out for Dino to. I'm not sure if he'd be right up there every race, and again it'd be tough learning a bit like Jack Harvey, but I expect them to get the odd, very strong result during the year. We have Status Grand Prix, Irish Status Grand Prix team, and they've got a couple of interesting drivers with Jimmy Eriksson and Fogg from Portugal. He's been an interesting driver before, and actually Angola. I was like interesting driver, he's actually been a bad driver, but yeah, Status it's going to be a tough year for them on the driver front. We also have Bamboo Engineering. You might recognise Bamboo Engineering from British Touring Cars and World Touring Car Championship at the moment. Yeah, they're going to GP3, their first season in open wheel racing, and it's in GP3, and they've got a good lead driver, Lewis Williamson, who is the former Red Bull Young Driver Program. As I say, he had a tough year last year in Formula 3.5, got dropped after 5 races by Red Bull, and in his place came Antonio Felix da Costa. He did okay. And so I expect much better from Williamson this year. Bamboo, they could be learning about this series. Williamson won't, he's got good experience in this, and so I expect Williamson to do quite well this season, hopefully. And they've got, Carmen Jordina. God, I can't really see, can I? But yeah, she was in GP3 last year, should be near the back. And Melvu Maki, who's been in Formula Renault, and he was actually nominated for the McLaren Autosport Young Driver of the Year, if I remember correctly. And so yeah, he could be a name to look out for. He looks very strong. He had a very good year last year, so look out for him. Again, maybe a tough running year, a bit like Harvey, as I said. We've got Trident, and then the new team, Kovalainen GP from Finland. As I said, I'm going up on announcing things, but yeah, they've got a very interesting lineup. The new Finnish squad with Avo Vanino. Oh, yeah, he was in GP3 last year. He looked very strong at times. Should have perhaps challenged for the title a bit more, but kind of fell back a bit towards the end of the season. And Kevin Caduce, who's been in Formula Renault 3.5, and last year was very disappointing after a brilliant rookie year in 2011. So maybe looking for the bounce back a bit to put himself back on the radar on the driver front for GP2 or Formula Renault 3.5. Maybe he could move back there next year. And Trident, they've got David Funeni, who was okay-ish last year, and perhaps the next to him to do quite well. But yeah, that is the pick of the drivers, that is all the teams, and it's going to be a very interesting GP3 season. I really do hope you enjoy watching it. You can watch it on the Sky Sports F1 channel, of course, in Britain, and of course you can find it on the internet. So yeah, that is the GP3 season preview as well, actually. So now I hope you enjoyed it, and bye.